his children. Introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intention is teaching their talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers, 50 to 80%. That ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his dip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, seek change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin, yeah. He says recognize trauma, push past the pain. If you got a problem, go look at his frame. Work your perspective and look at it change. Find a goal, set it in critical thing. Manage time, self-awareness. These are the few of the things he's trying to get you to do every day. Do every day. Led 5 schools to increase test scores with his teacher principal collaboration. Things he give to you will have you take you drive to the next level. But first, you need to get some fuel at gas station. Supporting education leaders, creating a culture for kids that'll last for ages. Lack of access to quality professional development, that's outrageous. Got his doctorate in education, leadership, research, make changes. Need to put the kids first and raise them. Need to teach them they worth, stop playing. Later on, they gon' run this nation. Dr. Joe with his dissertation taught to those who would fix, make changes. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intentions. The teaching and talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers, 50 to 80%. They ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his dip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, seek change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin.
Great day, leaders. Welcome to the Empowerment Zone PD Cast, week 67, volume 2, number 25. Let's go. Excited as always, you all, to be here with you. Indeed, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, y'all. Thankful. Just leaving a basketball game here in my hometown, Clarksdale. Got a chance to see my alma mater, Kahoma Community College. Did a great job. Beat a team to sleep, you all. You hear me? So definitely proud. Head coach is one of my former ball players. So it's always good to see people you have poured into continue to do the work and continue to do a great and wonderful job at it. So definitely happy about that. It's been a whirlwind of the first 10 days of the year. I'm sure you all are feeling it as well. It's like that. Seems like time goes fast when you're having fun and when you doing the work that we like to do, empowering people, working with and through people. Life tends to get great, and I'm thankful for you all. As always, I like to do a quick, just brief, very small moment of silence for our country. We're going through so much, so often, and it's so impactful to all of us. So each week, I just like to think about that, put that in perspective, kind of ground us and center us as we move into our topic for today, our prelude, and then our topic for today. So just a quick few seconds, moment of silence for our country. And if there are individuals and groups within that you're thinking about as well, definitely uplift them during those few seconds also. Yeah. We hear you all. It's definitely a blessing. Otherwise, you all, I'm gonna get into it today, and we got a great professional development for us. And as always, we just want to be participative. If you're streaming in, let us know where you're streaming in from. Go ahead, put it in the chat all throughout. We definitely want to recognize you, and we also want to have your thoughts and input into the conversation. As always, you all know we about to go in on the PD. We love it. We love it. We love what we do. And before we do that, I do want to go in with a quick prelude. And we know that today we're talking about, in our professional development, we're talking about discipline culture, and I'm going to break that down. It's not about misbehavior. It's about instruction and performance. And we'll tie those links and we'll talk about that. And as always, I like to lead in with a prelude that can be applied to life, that can also be applied to educators and in the other field that you're in as well. And the thing about it, when we're talking about bringing people up or empowering people, and we're talking about making an environment where we can be high performers, where those inside of that environment can also be high performers. High performance requires safety, aka a safe environment, right? It takes a safe environment to create a high performing environment. The thing about it is, if the people around you don't feel supported, they don't feel like the best interest is always being accounted for, it's not gonna feel safe. If they don't have that feeling of safety, they're not gonna feel supported. If they don't feel safe and supported, it's hard to allow growth to take place, because growth is something that has to occur in a physical state, your mental state, as well as an emotional state. So high performance requires safety. And just think about that for a brief moment. Whether it's your workplace, whether it's your home, whether it's in your friendships, whatever it is, or in your leadership space, people not going to stretch that extra mile unless they feel safe. If you constantly are bracing for the impact or bracing for something that you think is going to happen to you, you're not going to be able to perform at your highest peak. So, at the end of our show, we always talking about getting out of that fear so that you can perform at your highest performance levels, right? But in the midst of that, if you're not feeling supported, you don't feel like it's a safe environment, that does not occur. So safety, all of that requires trust. Growth requires trust, and safety does as well. So when we think about that, we just want to keep building off that, because your culture is not just your rules, it's not just your expectations, it's also about how things are handled, how you handle those things, because again, that's a part of the safety aspect. So when we get into talking about that, you got to always think about how are we handling these situations, because the thing about it, anything and everything is going to have some type of conflict in it. But the tension that comes from conflict, you got to be able to talk it out. You got to be able to collaborate effectively to be able to move forward and to move past, because the thing is, every relationship has a culture. Every relationship has a culture. So building off of that, you want to think about how you handling disagreement, right? That's part of the culture of anything. How are you handling mistakes? And that's mistakes whether I make them or whether you make them. And that's whether if you're the leader or if I'm the leader, or if we're in this together, of course. But in those mistakes, how are we moving past them? Because it's sure to happen. It's sure to happen. We're going to make those mistakes, but how are we handling them? Do we isolate people? Do we put them off to the side when they make a mistake? Or do we try to bring them in and we build them up? See, all of that requires safety. It requires us to be in a mode of working with and through people at all times. And if it's not addressed in conversation, it shows up in the performance. If it's not handled in your relationships, it's going to show up in the results. We talk about being relationships and results-oriented leaders. You're either one or the other, right? You're either a relationships-oriented leader or a results-oriented leader. But in the middle, if it's not handled in those relationships, even the results part of it, it shows up. So we got to always keep that in mind. And one last piece to this high performance thing that requires safety. If it's not dealt with the adults at the grown folks level, as we say, what do you think is going to happen? Whether you're in your home, whether in your school, it trickles down to the kids. It trickles down to those that have the least amount of voice in the situation. They have to absorb it because we weren't able to collaborate at a high level. We weren't able to create an environment in which we could improve personally and professionally each and every day so that people could grow, so that people could feel supported, so that people could feel accountable enough to improve. Ooh-wee. See, you want your people to feel accountable enough to improve. We talk about accountability, but if I'm not in a safe environment, if I'm not committed, I'm not going to perform high. Simple as that. I've got to be in a safe environment. I need to be committed. And in that way, you can hold me accountable, or you can hold those accountable around you. So with that being said, you all, I definitely want to recognize those that we have in the shouts, in the chat rather. Good afternoon, Coach Doc McKeever Jeter. Definitely appreciate you as always sharing out. Calumet City, Illinois is definitely in the house as always each and every week. Thank you so much, Coach. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And as we get ready to move forward, you are into the content for the day. We know that our topic, discipline culture, is not about misbehavior. It's about instruction and performance. First thing off, you say, what's discipline culture? And some of you are familiar with discipline culture. If this is your first time tapping in, please make sure it's not your last time. But we talk about the DIP approach occasionally, DIPP, and that's discipline culture plus instructional practices equals performance. Well, I was thinking about it this past week. I want to be able to also break down discipline culture singularly so that more people can understand it, so that we can continue to let them know that it's not about misbehavior. It is about improving instruction and instructional practices and performance. That's the DIPP. But today we just talking about discipline culture. You say, what is it, Dr. Joe? What's discipline culture? It is the collaborative way in which teachers and administrators work together to handle issues. In the prelude, we talked about how those adult issues can trickle down to those that absorb it, right? So it's important to note that the collaborative way in which teachers and administrators work together to handle all issues, student to student, student to adult, as well as the elephant in the room, because I know we don't always like to talk about the adult to adult issues. That is powerful, you all. So we got to put our leaders, our teachers, and our students in a space and a place where that's normalized, that we talk through things, we reconcile differences, because you can't build them up in a bitter environment. You got to make it positive, right? Discipline culture is a positive construct. So we want to always think about it. It's not about penalty. It's not penal, right? It's about being positive. It's about correcting behavior, right? But it's also about working together so that we can improve instruction and performance. They go together. And as we get into that, I just want you to think about it. It's some common myths. I want to give you a myth and a shift, right? We want to do a myth and shifts about what discipline culture is. What's a myth? What are the myths and the shifts when we're referring to discipline culture, right? We talked about what it is, and we're going to talk about those common myths, some of those shifts, and then what it looks like. Because you got to always think about does it look like? How are we implementing? What are the strategies that we're using? Crucial information. So we want to definitely stay on point with that. One of the common myths about discipline culture, and that's discipline dash culture, is that it's about control. It's not about control. Control creates an environment where people are being compliant, not necessarily where they are committed. Remember, we talked about that commitment and accountability piece, where commitment leads to accountability and vice versa, because you got to have those accountability measures in place to ensure that the commitment is followed through with from all of your people, right? So when you think about that, the reality is that people, they're going to do what's required. They're going to do what's required. And you want to move from control to ownership. The myth is that control is about what discipline culture is about, but the shift is that we move into ownership. We want everyone that's involved with our school, with our organization, within our community to follow that shift to ownership. Because when they feel that ownership, they're going to dig in a whole lot deeper. And that's when we're making ground, when we're getting better, when we're improving, and you can see it, you can start to see it in the data, you can start to see it in your practices as well as your procedures. Because now we're starting to take ownership. We believe in what we're doing. We want to do what we're doing. And guess what? We're not going to allow our team to fail when that's the case. Myth number 2. I'm going to give you another myth, another shift. Strong leadership means you got to have the final word, that you got to have the final say. You're the end all, be all, that you're not going to take in thoughts sometimes. But guess what? That's not the type of environment that you want to lead in a positive discipline culture. You want to have a team of dedicated individuals that know that they can speak. They can speak. That's a real thing, because you've got districts and teams in which people can't speak. And by can't speak, I mean speak their minds, be able to add to, be able to contribute to what we have going on. It's not collaboration if it's only what you're saying or it's only what this person is saying. It's collaboration when we work together. So people don't need to be dominated. They don't need you to stand over them, be controlling. What they need is for you to give them direction. They need for you to lead them, to guide them, to walk alongside them, to work with them, and make sure that we're providing for those who need these services every single day, every single way. And you got to keep that at the forefront of everything that we're doing as educators. That's the crucial piece of what we do as educators. So with that shift, you want to move from power to empowerment. We talk about that all the time within not only the DIP approach, but within these 67 weeks of our PDCast, we constantly talked about empowerment. In fact, this is the Empowerment Zone PDCast. So when we make that shift from power to empowerment, oh man, that's a big, big myth that we've got to burst down. We've got to move from that mentality. And when we move from that mentality, you're going to see your teams, your scores, your environments, everything's going to just shoot through the roof. Everything's going to shoot to the roof, because you got a school now in which they know that we're moving forward, right? So crucial, so important. And the other myth and shift is that adult issues don't affect performance. Miss Wilson and Miss Johnson, they don't have to get along. She teaches on that end and she teaches on that end. That's sometimes the conversation. But that's not true. We need them to work together, because if they're working together, that's going to improve everything even more. Sure, teachers sometimes, educators sometimes like to work in silos, but we got to push the needle and make sure that that does not occur, because we know that when we are effectively collaborating, that we constantly working together, and that it's part of the environment, it's part of the culture that we have built. Because it's not just going to happen just because I'm saying it. We have to continue to build that type of environment, right? Where these issues that the adults have, sometimes between one another, sometimes with parents, sometimes with other stakeholders, sometimes with students. All of those things have to be managed in such a way that we look at everyone's emotional temperament. SEL should be a priority. We know that when SEL is a priority, schools perform better. We know that when SEL is a priority, individual students, individual teachers, as well as individual leaders perform at higher levels. High performance requires safety. We draw back on our prelude here. High performance requires safety. So when you think about that, and we know that adult tension leaks into the collaboration piece. We know that it leaks into instruction. We know that it leaks into every phase of the school. So when we're given this type of direction, we want to move from avoidance to resolution. We want to move from avoidance to being able to resolve issues daily, not weekly, not monthly, not quarterly, not yearly, but daily. I was in the classroom for the close of the year, and a teacher told me that they only did their incentives on Fridays. And this was a small classroom, meaning that they were first, second grade. And first and second graders all the time don't know when Friday is coming. They can't think far enough ahead sometimes to Friday. So I coached her into doing positive reinforcement daily because we want to be intentional about ensuring that the positive reinforcement occurs. So we want to move from avoiding the situation to finding a resolution to make sure that we better the situation every single time. That's important, you all, and we can do it, but we have to be intentional about it. So crucial when we talk about the miss versus the shifts that need to happen in our schools. And with this being the second week for most educators, this is the time where you've reset. We talked about resetting, but now you got to dig in because it's crunch time. Whether you know it or not, it's not crunch time come March and April. It's already crunch time. But now January, February, you're setting the precedent for what's definitely going to happen come testing season, come end of year assessments, come all of that. So we got to always keep that at the tip top of our mind frame. When we consider discipline culture further, right? We talked about what it is. We talked about some myths and shifts, but what does a healthy positive, and I add positive in there because that's what makes discipline culture such a wonderful thing. It can be a negative construct, but we want to always ensure that the discipline culture is positive. The collaborative way in which teachers and administrators work together. Because remember that could be positive, that could be very negative. You can have it where, and I know situations where the teachers don't want to talk to the principal. The principal don't want to talk to the teacher, and they are moving in silos. They don't want to have that relationship. And in those situations, that's a very real thing because a positive discipline culture has not been set. Again, it's intentional. That's why I coined that word in my dissertation research. That's why I've kept it going, because I saw it as a young principal that it was a problem. It was a problem getting teachers and principals to work together. I saw it, I knew it, I recognized it. So I made it part of the empowerment plan for what we continuously talk about here at Joe Griffin Global. When you think about it, and the issues that we're talking about, they have to be addressed early. And it can't be an emotional thing. It can't be something out of spite. It has to be a response that is intentionally positive, but it also provides support and guidance to keep the team or to keep that individual moving forward. So you're going to have conversations, crucial, courageous conversations, and they can't be disrespectful. What you mean? I'm going to say what's on my mind. I'm going to say what needs to be said. But the thing about it, your conversation, they still got to be direct. but they can't be disrespectful because you want to keep it positive, even in the correcting phase, even when we're attempting to give constructive criticism, when we're giving feedback, we still want to give it in a way that's not disrespectful, in a way that you can absorb it, in a way that we can improve on what it is that we need. And the thing about it, you our feedback, when I give you feedback, I can't make it into something that's penal because I want you to get better at it. So if I'm going to punish you for it, that takes away the reason for you to get better. If I make a 80 on the test, if I make a 60 on the test, and we've got a retest policy, but I can't make any more than a 62 on the retest, what's the purpose of me retesting? Yeah, let that sink in for a minute, because we this is something we got to think about. We got to give direction in a way that it can be absorbed, in a way that it can be worked on, that we can better ourselves. It's got to be clear, it's got to be consistent, and it's still got to be able to hold people accountable also at the same time, right? At the same time. So we talked about what it is, what discipline culture is, some myths, some shifts, talked about some of those things that you got to do to make sure it lives in your space and place. Now I want to look at a couple of practical moves, that ways that you can constantly work in improving. That's right, coach. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. You got to be direct, but at the same time, not disrespectful. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. I couldn't have said that better myself right then. Definitely appreciate that. So, few things you want to do to kind of strengthen your discipline culture. And we know that with a positive, strong discipline culture, there's no limit to what you can do, you all. There's no limit to what you can do. I've gone into some situations where students were underperforming, teachers were underperforming, even the leadership team was underperforming, but with the creation and the building and the intentional and continuous work of creating a positive discipline culture where we work through everything, where we work through the issues together, it improves so much and so fast. So much and so fast. It never took me the 2-3 years to turn around a school that they say that it takes. We always did it in at least 1 to 2 years. Always made the turnaround, always made the improvement, because it starts with the energy that you present with your attitude. I sent out a post this week, and it actually came from one of the prior live streams, but it's about the energy. It's about the positive energy. You got to have it through it. All right, so you all, let me keep going, because I love this. Y'all know I love what we do. I love this educational process, the continual work that has to come along with it, the hours that you have to put into it to actually be good and to be great. I dig it. I dig it, you all. So we talked about normalizing those collaboration issues. We got to stop letting people handle problems alone. Take care of it. You got it. No, let's start working in. Let's start getting in. Let's replace figure it out with let's work through it. Let's get through it together. Oh, you go ahead. You figure it out. I've heard people say it, and I'm sure you have too. But in a positive discipline culture, we work through it together. Now, if the person say, "Hey, I don't want your help," that's different. And even in that case, you still have to provide help sometimes when you're in supervisory roles and when you're in leadership. But we want to be able to support. We want to be able to help people. So replace figure it out with less work through it. I've talked about having consistent feedback loops prior. All this is crucial, because if we're going to collaborate, we got to talk. We got to talk. One thing or one strategy, specific strategy that you can use to ensure that you up the interaction with every educator or even with your students, a 2x10. I'm going to give you 2 minutes for 10 days in a row. And it's intentional, because now we learn to communicate. We are interacting. And guess what? We learn one another. We can't learn one another if we don't communicate. I can't know all your strengths and your weaknesses, or even some of your strengths and your weaknesses, if not communicating with you on a regular basis where I can, number one, either hear you tell me what they are, but secondly, and even most importantly, see those strengths for myself. And so that you can see those strengths for yourself that we exhibit or that I exhibit. Because remember, collaboration doesn't happen alone. It's not possible. So create those clear steps for follow-up loops, feedback loops, follow-up loops, whichever turn you decide. Because you want to know what happens after the conversation. After that initial check-in, after that initial finding, after that initial evidence, after that initial bringing the evidence to the table, and we're talking about next steps of holding people accountable, what happens? How is that taken care of? How is that monitored? How is that managed? What are you doing to ensure that it takes place and that it's resolved and it's not just quiet? We just quiet around here. Nobody's talking about anything. You been in buildings like that? Huh? Well, we just quiet around here. Everybody walking, doing their own thing. No one's communicating. No one's collaborating. Everyone's on an island. It happens, you all. But the thing about it is that we've got to fix that because we want our students to perform at higher levels. And it falls on the adults to ensure that that happens. Not just the administrators, not just the teachers. It happens together in collaboration, in cahoots, as they say. It's got to happen together, you all. So next thing about ensuring that discipline culture starts to live in your environment, you got to address dynamics proactively. You got to address those dynamics, any dynamics that you feel aren't moving the organization in the right direction. They've got to be addressed. You can't be the person that says it's going to work itself out. As the leader or as teachers, we got to ensure that we get in there and we talk about it, because unspoken frustration becomes resistance. I'm going to say that again because that's hard. That's deep. Unspoken frustration leads to resistance because I can't talk about it. We don't have the platform, or we don't have the systems in place or the structures in place where we can talk about things. So now I'm just going to start resisting. I'm going to start kind of doing my own thing. I'm going to start not necessarily following the leadership. So it's important and it's crucial, you all, that we address those adult dynamics proactively. We can't wait until it's boiled over. We can't wait until the pot has boiled over. When you boil tea and you got the water to the top of the pot, if you don't watch it, it'll boil over. If you don't take care of it right then, it'll boil over. So it's crucial as leaders, as educators, that this is the goal, that we create an environment where we're working hard, we're working smart, and we're working together. And leaders set the tone to address tensions early. Leaders set that tone. Consistency is going to build up your trust. It's going to build up the environment. And you got these next, 4 to 5 months to build it up even more. I don't care if you are high performing. I don't care if you're low performing. Right now, it's the crust of the school year, and you want to be locked in. You want to be centered in every single day. You're going into battle, but it's a battle that you love. It's a battle that you wait for. It's a battle that you are excited about, that you're ready to participate in. That's where the love comes in. So definitely love what you do and enjoy what you do. And another thing before we get ready to go to another piece of the PD, you got to align your culture with your daily practices. People are not going to use these high-yield instructional practices in environments that are not safe. Remember I talked about high performance requires safety. And if I want you to be this high-performing instructor. I want you to use stations. I want you to use reciprocal teaching. I want you to use the KWL strategy. I want you to use graphic organizers, bubble maps within the lesson, and I'm going to help you and direct you as to why those particular strategies are crucial. When we're doing that and we're aligning it up our culture, we got to ensure that the environment is safe. Your culture is how people live in your space. That's your home, your community, your school. Culture is how we live, how we do things every single day, and it determines what people continue to do. It determines what they continue to do. It is what's going on. It's how we live. But it's also going to determine what we continue to do unless those shifts are made. Unless those shifts are made, you all. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Loving what we do. Definitely happy to be here. Same here. It took me 1.5 to 2 years to turn around school. Definitely, coach. You got to go in with the right mind frame, the right systems, and a belief that can't be deterred. That's gonna give you the strength and the resilience to do the job over and over and over again, because that's what it takes. It takes that consistency, you all. It doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't happen in 1 week or 1 month. It happens consistently as you build up your environment to be what you need to be. That's what I'm talking about, you all. So with that being said, we're getting ready to come to the end today. Before we do, I definitely have a few shout outs, a few things that I want to say, rather, not necessarily shout outs, but a few things that I want to say. And we're in a very tight space in our nation, you all, in our schools. And it's crucial right now that we do those things that we need to do to improve our students, but also to get our teachers up to par, to build up that teacher capacity. So this is my call to you. Those that are in need of help to improve their school environments, to improve their districts, reach out. Reach out. Let's make something happen right now. Let's not wait until the letter grade falls, or until the collaboration is just all the way gone. You got to be intentional. Sometimes you got to step outside the box. Sometimes there's a perspective that you may need from another person. And the thing about it, people can see more from without sometimes than we can within. People can see more from the outside sometimes than we can from within, because we become embedded. It becomes a part of our everyday processes. So we might not see something, how someone who comes in occasionally, 25, 30 days, or 1 day or 2 days, however many days it is, they may see it in a way that now I can make an improvement or an enhancement to that particular strategy. And that's crucial, you all. That's what it's all about. That's why we're in this business of educating, of education. Got the new critical skills mastery workbooks, you all. Put a post out about it not too long ago as well, because it was exciting to me to be able to go and see them actually. But we got these critical skills mastery workbooks. See that optical eye? Yeah, that's where your deepest thinking takes place. It means something. But when we move through, we got 8th grade, we got every grade. You know, I'm not gonna go through all the grades, but we got them all. And there's a parent piece in there. There's a teacher piece in there. It helps them be able to differentiate the lesson. Has basically an entire plan or lesson plan for each skill that's covered under your reading literature, your reading information, your language, as well as your speaking, listening, and your reading foundations. Got those in the same one. So that's going to be huge, you all. Definitely DM. You can't have enough resources. You can't have enough resources. I see it not only as a I can see it used as a primary or secondary curriculum, because sometimes we have teachers who aren't trained, who aren't prepared. Sometimes you need additional or supplemental information that goes with your state-bought curriculum or your spiral curriculum. But here's the thing with the spiral. If I'm not familiar with one or two of the skills that are within this spiral of 4 or 5 skills, what makes you think that I'm going to master the 4 or 5 skills and I haven't mastered the 1 or 2 within that 4 or 5? And I take that to heart because I'm in the field, I'm on the ground. I was the particular person who wanted to always improve. And with that, I know that students need resources and supplementals that are going to give them those critical skills so they can go out and use them in the world. So definitely DM me if you're interested in those. And of course, as always, I've got the other books and professional development, doing some great PD, great instructional coaching work right now. And just want to continue to empower and continue to work with people, with and through people. It's never me, because I couldn't be me. I couldn't do what I do if it weren't for other people. I'm aware of that. So I'm thankful for that, because I know that it takes you all to give me an opportunity to be able to do such work. And I'm thankful for that. So definitely reach out. And with that being said, you all, I want to bring you to our close. Continue to live, love, learn with your heart. Continue to search for wisdom so that you can find your true purpose. And continue to be courageous so that you can drown out all fear and be who you need to be in your educational spaces, places, homes, and community. Otherwise, you all love what you do. Have the best day. See you next week. Thankful, blessed. Goodbye.